Yo, what's going on, guys? This is Houston Sports Talk back into the video today, and today we're going to be talking about what the Dallas Mavericks offseason plan should be after getting the number one overall pick last night in the NBA draft lottery, and most likely are going to draft Cooper Flagg. And how do you build this team around Cooper Flagg, Anthony Davis, and Kyrie Irving now? Honestly, what I will say is this team is pretty much already built. But there are a couple of things I think this Mavericks team needs to do going into the offseason, if you ask me. Now, the one thing, there's only a couple of things I'll say this Mavericks team needs to do in the offseason. And here's the first one. First, you need to make it official and draft Mr. Cooper Flagg. That's one thing. But then the second thing I would say is this Mavericks team needs to add in a point guard this offseason. A starting point guard for the first 2 months of the season. Kyrie Irving is not going to be back right away. Kyrie should be back early January, mid-January. Obviously, the season doesn't start then. So it's going to be, NBA season starts end of October. It should be, it should be a little bit over 2 months, 2.5 months of the season where you're not having Kyrie Irving. You need to add in a point guard, I believe, through that time. And I think it should be someone was on this roster last year, who's a free agent this offseason, that's comfortable with most of the team, and that is Spencer Dinwiddie, is the guy I think you should look to be the starting point guard for the first 2.5 months of the season. And then Dinwiddie's a guy that can just move to the bench when Kyrie Irving comes back. Dinwiddie last season averaged 11 points per game for Dallas in 79 games, starting 30 of those 79 games. A lot of those games were games that Kyrie missed. 5 assists per game for Dinwiddie as well. 3 rebounds per game. Look, Dallas can look to go with this lineup, this maybe non-traditional point guard lineup where you have Clay at the 1, PJ Washington at the 2, and Cooper Flagg's at the 3, Davis is at the 4, and Lively's at the 5. But just to me, they did that at the end of the season. But the only difference was instead of Cooper Flagg, there was Najee Marshall in the starting lineup. They did that, and you can do it to me, I think you need a more traditional point guard in that lineup. Then we can be the guy. Clay doesn't have to play the point guard role, which I don't think he'd bring up the ball, all the time. I think you'd probably be looking at, maybe Cooper Flagg bringing up the ball a lot as well. But I just think that it'd be better if you had Dinwiddie back and bring him back. I think that would be the best thing for this team is to bring back Spencer Dinwiddie. I don't know I look at another guy like Dante Exum. I don't know if he's someone they bring back. He's another guard. Maybe do they re-sign Dante Exum and he can play Dinwiddie's role? Because Dinwiddie's the guy I think that can be the backup point guard once Kyrie comes back. That's going to be one thing I think this Mavericks team needs to evaluate. One thing I think they need to evaluate is potentially trading Daniel Gafford. That is one thing that this Dallas team needs to look at. I think this Dallas team has too much talent with the size they have now, most likely adding in Cooper Flagg with this team to let go of Gafford, because you've got AD, you've got Lively, you've got AD, Lively, and Cooper Flagg all in the same starting lineup. PJ Washington could be in the starting lineup with them to start the season if they go with if they do go with the Clay at the point guard for the first couple months of the season like they did at the end of the year, which I do not suggest. But, this team has a lot of size and a lot of great defense, and Daniel Gafford is one of those guys. I think getting rid of him would be a mistake, but I wouldn't blame Dallas if you wanted to trade Daniel Gafford away. And the reason I say this is because Daniel Gafford, he's an expiring contract. He has said that he wants to be paid like a starting center, and you've got a guy like Derek Lively. I don't know if you want to pay Daniel Gafford that much, and you could get some value for him trading. If you trade him now, you could get some value for him now instead of losing him in the offseason. But I think this Mavericks team, to me, is a championship contender with Kyrie, AD, Clay, Lively, Gafford, Cooper Flagg, PJ Washington. If all those guys are healthy, if all the guys on this team are healthy, this Mavs team next year to me is a championship contender. And you lose a little bit of that championship sure, I think the Mavs can still be a great team and be a playoff threat, but you lose a little bit of that by losing Gafford. You lose that great backup center. So I'd risk losing him in the offseason by keeping him in the roster. So I don't trade Gafford. I think you could look at trading P.J. Washington. He's not going to be in the starting role anymore now that Cooper Flagg is gone. That is what P.J. Washington has been most of the time since he has got to Dallas. And do you look to trade him is another question I would ask with this Dallas Mavericks team. I mean, Washington this year for the Dallas Mavericks started almost every game he played in. There was only one game he came off the bench. He played in 57 games, started in 56 of those. Last year when they traded for him, he came in, played 29 games, started in 28 of those. During the Dallas Mavericks playoff run when they went to the NBA championship, he started all 22 of those games. So Gafford in his Dallas Mavericks career in 1.5 regular in a regular season and a half, with the half season in 2023-24 season and the 2024-25 season and the 2023-24 playoffs, Washington has played a total of has played a total of 108 games as a Dallas Maverick. There's only been 2 of those games that Daniel Gafford has not started in. So how will he feel about the role of potentially coming off the bench? It's something he didn't do a lot in the 2022-23 season with Charlotte before they traded him. It's something he didn't do really a lot in general in Charlotte. Charlotte played 304 games, started 236 games. So most of his career, Washington has been a starter. Really only season where he wasn't a starter was the 2021-22 season where he played 65 games and started in 28. How will Washington feel about going to the bench? Does he ask out? Does he want to stay on this team? That is one question I would ask. You can't get anything back for P.J. Washington and Gafford that I think is going to be that great. Like, you can get something back for those two guys, but what are you going to get? Like, you're not going to shoot for another starting player. If you package up, you could package up Gafford and Washington, and I'm sure there'd be teams that would want those two guys. But there's not going to be a single trade where you're not going to look for another starter by trading those two guys because their starting lineup. What are they going to ask Clay to come off the bench? So Kyrie, Clay, Cooper Flagg, AD, Lively, those are their starters. If they package up Gafford and Washington together and send them out, it's going to be for another bench player. And that's why I don't think it'd be worth it to send those two away. So what I would say with this Dallas team, make it official, draft Cooper Flagg, re-sign Spencer Dinwiddie, don't trade Washington or Gafford, even if they ask out. And then once Kyrie Irving is fully healthy and back again, the starting lineup would be Kyrie, Clay, Cooper Flagg, AD, Derek Lively off the bench. This would be one of the best benches in basketball, in my opinion. You'd have P.J. Washington, Daniel Gafford, Max Christie, Caleb Martin, Najee Marshall, who played so well during all those injuries, and Spencer Dinwiddie as the 11th man. You have, other guys off the bench like Jaden Hardy. So, look, this would be a great Mavericks team next year if all fully healthy, which we didn't even see last year. Now you add in Cooper Flagg. The Mavs, to me, next year, I see them as a championship contender. Let me know your thoughts on this, on this video and the Mavericks offseason in the comment section, and peace out.